This is the first of a 3-part series, probably 3 parts, covering how to do your own Salamanders Repulsor Tank. This video covers the front plate. There'll be a magnetization video, and then there'll be a painting video. So if you want to see the next 2 videos in the series, go ahead, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then you won't miss them, hopefully, if YouTube does what it's supposed to do. Around the 10-minute mark, you'll see some comments on the screen about how I think it looked better at that point, and that maybe doing the way I did might not be the better way to do it. So when you get to there, let me know what you think, because I like the feedback to know. I kind of feel that this way is good, but the other way would have been better. So let me know what you think in the comments. So we take our Rhino front plate, Salamanders for this one, and I was playing with it because I was going to build a Razorback, and then I changed my mind because I kind of want my Salamanders to be all Primaris, just OCD. But the Repulsor, I bought that and realized that the front plate is a damn near perfect fit. So I was going to do this on an Repulsor, so I bought an Repulsor kit. I've got another one in a box in the pile of shame, but I procrastinated for that one for long enough that issues 75 to 78 of the Warhammer Conquest came in with the 3 sprues of the Repulsor. So if I put that out of the way and bring in the part with the front plate of the Repulsor, so that's this one. You see, it's not quite as good a fit. This is almost a perfect fit on the Repulsor. Not quite on this, so some filing or cutting will need to be done. Not too much, hopefully. It's a better fit up there. So hopefully we can cut away the bottom. Maybe leave the ridged bit here. But we'll see what we do when we get to it. So that's the genesis of this idea. Now what we're going to need to do is take our build instructions up to stage 2, C and D, because we don't want to glue the front plate to the top plate and then glue it all down and then try to cut it to fit. I don't think that'll work very well. What I want to try to do is get the sides on. So I'm not going to glue the front to the top. I'm going to glue the back on to the base. Then I'm going to try to fit the sides and see if the top can go up and down and lift off, basically. That's my plan. That's what I want to happen. So I'm going to build it up to this stage and do all the test fitting. This is where we are. We have built up to, if you can see, well, part 2E. I think I'm going to go one further than that. Yeah, so I've got the sides on. Now, what we have done is the sides are glued, but the top is not. Well, not entirely. So just have to be a bit canny with this. I don't want to break anything. There we go. So you can see I have glued the headlights in, and I have glued the top plate to the front plate to give it that bit of strength, so that when I saw it, it hopefully will stay in the position we want. Now, this is the second Repulsor that I have built, and both of them had the same problem, that trying to get this panel in particular to line up is a nightmare. This panel bad as well, and trying to get the front to actually cinch or to close up there. It took me ages to work out what the problem is, and if I take the top off again, the problem is these 2 bits here. They're round and they need to be flat. They're effectively pushing the front plate up, which makes trying to get everything lined up an absolute nightmare. I was filing and trimming and everything, and as it turns out, it is literally just file the front here. So you take your needlepoint file and just file there, because this can stand to go down a bit more, and there. Oops. Yeah, you can tell I'm left-handed, can't you? So that's all you need to do. File that down gradually until you get it into position. Probably a little bit better I could do there, but it all lines up. It's all good. I'll put a little bit of extra thin cement in there, or my Revel Concata Professional. Don't know what that means. What we're going to do now is test fit our front plate, which is here. So I need to decide how high up I want to cut this. What I'm thinking, I've got this handy dandy little line. If I cut along there, then that'll sit almost perfectly. So what I want to do is saw up. Where is my saw? You would think, I would think these things through, right in my face. So I am literally, oops, sorry, going to saw along that line. I'm not going to worry about the indents yet. I'm going to get those later on, but for now I want to saw up to that line, because that should mean that I can come at this from the other side. I'm going to get that off and then file down pieces there. I might need to file that off, I'm not sure. But the plan is to basically get that in, maybe trim a little bit off the sides, but you'll see when we get there. So I'm going to saw this off, just taking my saw and resting it gently, and I'm going to cut as straight as I can, just like this, nice and slow. Now don't do this fast, because you'll see where my fingers are. So yeah, you can imagine if you're going like this, at this with a Dremel or something, you could in fact take the tip of your finger off, which I've done in the past with a potato peeler, but never with a saw, and I don't want this to be the first time. So I'm going to do this off camera. So if you don't have a saw, as you can see, I've made these cuts with a saw. I will leave a link in the description for this saw that I got off Amazon. It's a Tamiya craft tool saw. It's relatively cheap off Amazon. You can use a sharp craft knife, or X-Acto knife, or whatever we're calling it, or scalpel. You're literally just holding it firmly. Follow the line of the armor panel that you want to cut, and if you just keep doing that, keep scoring it with the knife. You're not pushing it hard in, you're just being very firm with it, and you will eventually cut through. Well, you can see I've carved that, but try to keep the same. You'll want to do it one way and then the other to make sure you cut through. So you could do that for these, and then this bit, which is probably something similar to what I'll do. So I'm going to cut along here. If I move that back, we can see. Cut along here, down, across, up, and then down, and then trim out the side panels, and then I'm going to see what it looks like. There we go. You can see the front panel is now missing, relatively neatly carved out. That's using a little trick with a knife to cut through it. Just be careful. If you're using the sharp knife, be careful. So you can see that it's slightly too big. That's fine. Worst comes to the worst, we can file this down. What I'm going to get rid of. So, well, the thing is, do I need to file it down, or do I need to... So one of the things I want to see here is how far... Yeah, that's too far down. So you can see the hatch. I'm going to have to get rid of the two blocks on the either side of the hatch there. I could get rid of the hatch altogether, and that would give me a nice flush bit that I could then effectively just stick underneath, if you see what I mean, so that it's flush to that, so it would sit about there. So you can see that if I do that, so that I leave myself with no gap, it's going to be sitting about there. Now, I could take the bottom of this, cut across that, there, cut across that, and glue that on the bottom. That might work. This one's thinking about. Yeah, I think I am going to file the sides just out to where the studs are, rivets. File all that flush with the side and then get rid of these two bits here. Yep, that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to file that down. Filing resin is obviously something that is a bit more tricky to do, so I may start with the clippers to get rid of the bits I know I don't want. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, look. We're starting to come together here. We've got our front panel filed down a little bit. I'm thinking I'm probably going to get rid of this and maybe that central rivet, because then it'd be offset, but then it sort of matches up with that and I don't know. So if I cut straight across there with the saw, file it down, get it flat, then this would move up a little, and because at the minute that's about as far up as it'll go. As you can see, that's raised because that's pushing it up. So what I will need to do is file down here where it's going to sit, but I don't want to do that until I've got its position fixed. So you can see what I've done. It's filed a little bit down the sides and taken those two posts off, and that one's probably slightly more than that one, but it shouldn't be obvious when it's in. I've taken a little bit of the corner off there, but I should be able to fix that up. And obviously this needs neatened up a little, but our core idea is there. I'm just going to saw this off so I can get these to see how much they're going to look. So I'm just going to, seriously, I had my saw. You all saw me sawing with my saw. Where have I put my saw? There's my saw. I am so bad. So first thing I'm going to do is actually get rid of the little sticky out bits. I'm just going to clip those off because I don't want them. Ow. That one hit the roof. I heard that one hit the roof. I'm just scoring this with the saw to make the actual sawing easier. I want to be careful because I don't want to go through and spoil my little Warhammer paper. Which one did this come from? Eldar and Space Marines. Ah! Arse. Oh well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you need to be careful when you're holding stuff, because that just went through. Pop! So what do you think of that then? I could even mould some green stuff flames for the underneath part. If I was brave. And I'm not! So. And this is already designed to sit there. So. If I do that. Get that. Right, if I do that. If I do that, he said again, that's going to sit there. Yeah, I'm going to cut that off next. So that's going to be a little bit tricky. So I want this nice and steady. Now what I want to do is err on the side of cutting that way rather than cutting that way. So that means carefully, I can always file it down. So the problem with these thin saws, they're quite flexible. So you can quite easily get the wrong angle. But worst comes to the worst, that's what green stuff's for, right? Yeah, it's ever so slightly squinty, so I'm going to try to even this up with a file as best I can. Alright, the original audio for this got badly mangled, so I'm going to record over it, but you can see here I am doing another test fit. It's a very important part of doing any gubbins like this, and I've filed that relatively flat. I mean, it's Probably could do a bit better, but it's fine. So you can see here, this is where I come up with a harebrained idea of actually cutting off the viewport. I do think that it would have looked better with the front plate without the original bottom bit of the front, just with the viewport cut off, which I'm going to do in a minute. You can see here, because the original front plate pushes the bottom of the original front plate pushes the resin front plate up, what that means is that the viewport starts hitting things. So I come up with the idea of just sawing it off. This took a while, and there was clippers involved, and you know, I was trying to be as careful as I could, so you probably don't need to see too much of this. I have cut off the view shield, viewport, whatever we're calling that, and I have cut off the bottom bit of the old front plate. So this perfectly sits on there. So if I just bring my light in to give a bit more illumination, you can see that so that is a perfect fit there. That I'm going to keep. I like that. So what we want to do now is obviously put this from behind underneath. Problem is that I can't quite get it behind. If I bring that down, you'll see it's sort of being forced. See the big gap? Yeah, slightly underexposed, but it's the best I can do. So you can see that there is a fairly big gap on this side, and that is due to the screen to stop you seeing in from the display port. So I'm going to cut that off now. That'll be easy to cut off because it's plastic. Okay, that will be easy to cut off because I know exactly where my clippers are, and I'm not totally stalling till there they are. So this will be easy to cut off. Just take our clippers and clip, and I don't know if I need more than that, because I just want that to slide up, as you see. So now if I drop that on, how's that looking? So I still might want to take a little bit off, because what I want is for this to sit. Hang on. If you're left-handed, do the tricky things with your left hand, you idiot. There. So hopefully there. There. Stop it. There. Yeah. This is in no way, shape or form awkward, you know. Yes, trained professional. So that. There. Okay, you can sort of see that this needs to be slightly better. There. Yeah, no, it keeps jumping off to once. But you can see what I mean. You get a rough idea. There. So what I'm probably going to do, if I take that off, move that back, is I'm going to glue now that to that. Alright. I have re-glued it, and if I drop that on, hopefully you can see, I think it'll need filing down of the undersides. Just that, you can sort of feel it when I try to lift it up, that it's also pushing up, as you can see that move. So it just needs a bit of filing along here and along here. Alright, so with some careful filing and trimming with a knife, I have this now where I think I could glue the plate on. So it's literally would be run a bead of super glue around here and stick that on. So when you're filing this, the easiest thing to do is, because our blue bar is completely parallel to this, what I did, was I took my knife and I scored both sides like so, so I knew where it was. I took it off, flipped it over, continued the scoring so that it was flush to the lines, and then basically used the knife and the file to sort of cut that down at a slightly lower angle. So you can see there's an almost little, very, very small steps, probably not even a millimeter, is giving myself the room for the plate to come up and sit underneath. So you'll see now, oh, upside down, that when I do this and drop that on and lift it up, there's a little bit of push. It might need a tiny bit more, but I don't think it's much, and I don't think it'll matter when you hold it after you've glued it. So you can see that there are some gaps there and some gaps there, so we'll fill that with green stuff next. What we've got is our tank pretty much at the skeleton level, finished. Roof, top bit still not stuck down. What I'm going to do now is fill the gaps. I have here some white milliput, which is just really weird stuff, and a wee thing of water just for dipping, really. It's probably not as clean as it could be, but it'll do the job. So what I'm going to do, I've also got some silicone sculpting tools. I'm going to fill this block here, down the sides here, and as much into those sides as I can, so that the entire front plate will be level with basically this part. That's the plan. I should probably get some kitchen roll at some point as well. What I don't want to do is fill in any other details. It almost turns into like a paint nearly when you wet it, which is why it's coating my fingers. It really doesn't help having big klutzy fingers like mine. So hopefully you get a rough idea of what we're doing. Just using the sculpting tools, smooth it out and force it into the gaps we want to fill, and away from the bits we don't want filled. Okay, so that's it filled in, and I think that's going to look better. It looks a bit messy now, but that's because when you wet milliput, it almost turns into like a paint. The top surface really does go quite painty, but so it runs almost like a shade, actually closer to a shade than a paint. So it does run into like recesses and things, but once that's sprayed up, it's going to look pretty good. If you've made it this far, thanks very much for watching. There's another couple of videos there you can click on. You can click on the subscribe button if you want to, like the video if you want to, stick a comment down if you've anything to say, and in the meantime, happy wargaming, and I'll see you next time.